And then they go, they come and they turn to me and they say, hey, I really appreciated this. This was what I needed. And that only grows more and more. And that is really what makes me have this drive and passion for what we do, is because we're bringing seniors together so that they're not alone and they don't feel like they're alone. They don't feel like they're aging alone without their kids or their spouses if they've lost them, or family members over time. They don't feel so alone, and they're creating those bonds that they need.
Welcome to the Daily Parks and Rec Show Leadership Series, hosted by Craig LeBlanc, founder of DPRS Media Network, where we spotlight the visionary leaders shaping the future of parks and recreation. In this episode, we sit down with Kelly from West Bloomfield Parks in Michigan for an important conversation about active adults and senior centers. Kelly brings her passion and experience to the conversation, exploring how active adult programs and centers are taking on a new shape, and how parks and recreation professionals can better meet the needs of this growing community. Let's dive in. All right, back again. This is Craig LeBlanc, your host with the Daily Parks and Rec Show Leadership Series. Second show of the day. By the way, we had a little special edition show this morning with Leon Younger with Pros Consulting and Carlos. We had a great topic about revenue, tax income, master planning, you name it. It was a really good show on the financial topic of Parks and Rec. And so if you missed it, definitely go back and watch it. We're also decided after that show, I think we had about another 5 shows in us before we wrapped that show up. So definitely a needed topic, something we're going to do more regularly, talk about the funding of Parks and Rec and what are the different pockets of money that Parks and Rec can have access to. I learned that there's about 140 different ways that Parks and Rec across the country get money. So I think it's important that we kind of are familiar with all the different ways that we can fund the great infrastructure and the great services that are happening across the country in their Parks and Rec departments. All right, but today we have a special guest, Kelly. It's from West Bloomfield, Michigan. And we're going to talk today about a subject that I have not done nearly a good enough job talking about. And it's our active adults, communities, centers, senior centers. They really have kind of taken on a new shape in recent years. And this is something that Kelly's very passionate about. She works a lot with her active adults. And so I'm really happy to be able to create another piece of content on this important subject. But before we get started, I would like to encourage everybody, Carlos, if you could pull up our YouTube. We're all the show hosts, of which now there are like 22 Daily Parks and Rec show hosts and shows going on weekly, daily, and monthly. We're all making a big push to grow our YouTube channel. So the whole media company was built on first on LinkedIn, then on Facebook, then on X, and then we have this massive content library that's sitting on YouTube. So a lot of people are asking us to send the videos and stuff. And we were like, we have a YouTube channel and we've kind of forgotten to promote it. And but when we reach 1,000 subscribers, we're hoping our goal is to get there by the end of the month. So, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Go get your kids' phones, your aunt's phones, your grandma's phones, and get them to subscribe for us. Once we get over that 1,000 subscriber mark, we'll be able to add another streaming channel to our content so that you'll be able to see all of the Daily Parks and Rec shows, hosts, and content, not only on LinkedIn, Facebook, and X, but then on YouTube, where you can find our entire content library. Let's go ahead and pull up our TV guide, which now we only have like 11 logos on there and time slots. So a lot of things are going to be changing in July and August. We'll have, by the end of July, I think 22 shows airing weekly for the Daily Parks and Rec show. So lots of great content for the Parks and Rec industry, highlighting all the different components of Parks and Rec. And I hope, and one day my vision is to have a show weekly dedicated to just active adult centers. And so this can be like one of the first few. We just need to find a talented show host that wants to talk about adults and senior centers weekly. So if you're out there and you'd like to maybe contribute to that, and maybe a group of y'all could maybe take one show a month or something, that's something I think is needed. But before we get started, let's go ahead and run our transition, and we'll promote a couple of the other shows that we got coming up. Also, after this show, stay tuned. Aaron Locks is having his Youth Sports Mastery show, which he's been doing every Thursday at 1:30 p.m. He's going to be moving to the 1 p.m. time slot this month. And then also he's picking up a second time slot at 5 p.m. on Tuesdays, because if you want to get on Aaron's show, I think it's booked out for the rest of the year. So we needed to open up because it's such a great topic talking about rec sports. And so soon, or actually starting last week, Aaron has two shows on Tuesdays and on Thursdays, Tuesdays at 5 p.m., Thursdays at 1:30 for now, soon to move to 1 p.m., all about rec sports. So stay tuned for that immediately following this show. Carlo, if you want to go ahead and run those promos, and we'll be right back and start our conversation with Kelly.
The future of Parks and Recreation isn't coming, it's already here. Across communities everywhere, technology is transforming how parks connect, engage, and serve the people who rely on them. From smart amenities and connected infrastructure to real-time data and innovative solutions, a new generation of parks is taking shape. Welcome to Smart Parks Forward, presented by DPRS Media Network and co-produced by Outdoor Link. Each episode brings you the leaders, innovators, and visionaries driving the future of parks and recreation. Discover groundbreaking ideas, real-world success stories, and the technologies helping agencies create safer, smarter, and more connected communities. Because great parks don't just improve spaces, they improve lives. The future is connected. The future is intelligent. The future is now. This is Smart Parks Forward.
All right, Kelly, welcome to the show. How's your week going?
My week is going great, Craig. Thank you for asking.
Yeah, fantastic. Okay, so today we're going to talk about active adults, senior centers. But before we get started on that, I wanted you to kind of introduce yourself to the Parks and Rec community. How did you get started in Parks and Rec?
Absolutely. So it's a long time coming. My dad, when I was a lot younger, was very active in farmers markets. So he worked with another neighboring community called White Lake Township. They worked to have a farmers market. And in the pilot early stages, my dad was managing their farmers market. And that was really like my first step into it. From there, we kind of got involved with Novi. I kind of went through my academic career, stepped back, didn't really go immediately into college. But I kind of took on a part-time role working for our Parks and Rec, just running registration. And from there, it really took off. I attended my first state conference this past year, and my passion for Parks and Rec has only grown since then. So,
yeah. So what state conference did you attend? The one in Michigan?
Yep, Michigan Parks and Recreation Association.
Yeah. Oh, fantastic. So how was your first experience there?
It was amazing. I tell you, everyone's like, I was like coming down. It was the most amazing thing ever because I walked into the room and it was the most surreal experience ever to be surrounded by 500 plus Parks and Rec professionals who have the same love and passion for what you do. It's awesome.
Yeah. Oh, it's fantastic. Yes, I'm a huge fan of farmers markets. I try to get as much food as I can from our local farmers markets. We have, I think, about 7 of them in New Orleans, and they're there every week. So maybe talk about that experience. And are you still engaged with that? Do you have a local farmers market?
So I'm not necessarily engaged with farmers markets as much. The people who were actually first started that farmers market in White Lake Township are now director and like assistant director at Novi and Northville Parks and Recreation. So now I get to work with them in a different light as a professional in this field, and being able to use them as a professional contact and bounce ideas off of them. It's really amazing to see the growth.
Oh, fantastic. All right. So what was your first kind of full-time job when you are like official Parks and Rec full-time employee, and you're really digging deep into what it is to be a Parks and Rec professional.
Absolutely. So from last May to this year, I stepped into a full-time position. I work primarily and or now solely out of our senior center. I was running, I was more helping our customer service team, so providing support to our transportation team as well. A couple days a week, picking up where we needed help with logistics whenever our coordinator was out of town, or being that first point of contact for our customer service team, and then kind of learning and teaching how to provide excellent customer service to active aging adults, because it's a very sensitive subject and treating it with kindness is very important, especially because sometimes seniors can be abrasive and or appear abrasive, but that doesn't mean that they always are.
Yeah. All right. So why don't you explain, if you had to tell somebody what a senior center is and the value it provides to someone that has no exposure to this, what would be kind of your first explanation to that?
So yeah, in general, a senior center is a place for our older adults to come together, feel like they have a place to belong to, and kind of exist with one another. It really is large enough to say nowadays that like it's a place for seniors to come and recreate and feel like they belong in their community still, and they're allowed to be part of their community still without feeling like they have to go out and participate in, you know, family events or things that they necessarily might feel a disconnect with. Our senior center is very large on delivering recreation that can provide educational topics, enrichment topics, exercise, travel, and everything else in between. So
yeah, and I think the senior centers were having so much fun that a lot of maybe younger seniors, like in their 50s, are like, how can we participate in this? And so
absolutely, I would say that, yes, okay. The large thing is that we're expanding our age range a lot. So now our age range at West Bloomfield is 50 plus. So
yeah. And they've kind of made a little rebranding, I guess, in the industry. Now we're calling it active adults.
Yes.
And I think that, when do you think that happened? It seems like that was just the last few years, huh?
I would say so. I feel like even, and I was just talking to this topic about changing and rebranding the, you know, words that we use when we're talking about our seniors. Mm-hmm. It's not necessarily that they're uncomfortable with aging. It's more like embracing the fact that they are, and embracing the fact that you have so much more. There's so much more to do, and there's a whole new world that exists for our active adults, especially as we're stepping into the later years of our lives, learning how to, you know, scam prevention and how to enjoy our later years and how to make the most of spending time with our grandkids and everything else in between. I feel like the rebrand really kind of pushed because we didn't want to stigmatize the word senior, because a lot of people who are getting older, they don't want to necessarily assign themselves with a group. You know, they don't want to be, I'm not old enough to be a senior, but I'm not young enough to be an adult.
Yeah.
So where do I fit in? So an actively aging person is, I think, a lot of the push why, because it's not as stigmatized as the word senior or, you know, older adult.
Right. And so 2 topics I'd like to cover is, number one, the infrastructure, because I think long ago, the infrastructure was basically just a big room with tables and chairs, and seniors were just sitting around and maybe playing bingo. And that was kind of the senior center. So how has the infrastructure changed as far as, you know, when you walk into a senior center, what are you seeing nowadays?
Absolutely. I can speak to our center primarily, but I've visited a couple of other different ones, and it's so cool to see how different each place is that I've got the privilege to see. Mm-hmm. Ours, you walk in, we have bright colors, there's windows all around the building, so you're bringing in the fresh natural light, not so much the dreary vibes that everybody is used to when you walk into like a senior center or something like that. Again, we also have multiple different break-off areas. We have multiple activities going on at one time to offer them kind of like, oh, I can bounce from this activity to that activity. And that's really big because, you know, sometimes they don't want to necessarily assign themselves to be like part of the weekly canasta group that plays every Wednesday at this time every day. Some of them like to come in, they like to do their chair exercise class, then they like to sit for a little bit, and then they like to go and hang out with a couple of friends. I've seen something as cool as like a bocce barn inside of a senior center, which is awesome. Indoor bocce ball and indoor pickleball and chair volleyball has been really big right now. That one's been
nice.
Really big, on the big rise, yes.
Okay, so let's talk about a lot more of the activities. So what are the activities that y'all have seen? And then what are some of the activities you've heard or seen in other departments?
So a lot of our activities depend on like what is current topics and current trends. We try to stay on topic and on trend with our seniors so that we don't necessarily always continue to assign ourselves with we only offer this type of programming. We want to continue to expand. We want to continue to market to those who are interested in coming to us. That's our whole goal. So every guide, we put out 3 large publications that get mailed to every household in West Bloomfield. In every guide series, we have different programs that are seasonal. They attain to different topics and they attain to different, parts of aging that may attract different types of people. So sometimes it might be heart health, sometimes it might be, mocktails and all the other stuff in between that kind of brings in the different age groups, which is very important.
Yeah. Fantastic. All right. So let's talk about, you had mentioned the overseas senior travel program, and I actually wasn't familiar with that till I had a guest on the show that talked about it. So what can you say a little bit about these travel programs that seniors?
Yeah, so that is my niche within Parks and Rec with my seniors. I oversee our senior travel program with West Bloomfield Parks. I primarily working with contractors to create these experiences for our seniors that are international travel, which we have not ventured into, but a lot of senior centers have started to venture into senior international travel, and it's provided really well insights. Out of state travel, overnight and day trips as well. And then what I primarily focus on every guide series is I put out around 10 trips that are around Metro Detroit area. We have a service area that we're allowed to stay within, and we go to different places and we offer different experiences. So it might be one trip might be making a flower bouquet and bringing back like fresh cut arrangements. And another trip might be a behind the scenes tour of the Detroit Opera House. It's just, providing the high quality recreation that we can while taking our seniors and keeping them on the go as long as they can.
All right. So if you had a couple of people like yourself scattered throughout the country that are kind of looking at replicating what you're doing, what's kind of the building blocks of putting together a good travel program?
Absolutely. So I'm working with a couple of other people in the state of Michigan right now to kind of create an outline for people like that would be interested in creating a travel program at their center. And it's really just listening to your feedback. It's really big because a lot of people have a lot of really good insight and information, and then taking it and being active upon it. You have to look into it, make the phone calls, make the effort, and it's hard and people don't answer phone calls, but the dedication to it and being able to dip your toes fully into it and step in and be like, how can I provide the best recreation I can for my seniors? That's what your drive is. So I have 5 survey results from last guide that asked us to go to the Detroit Guardian building for a behind the scenes tour. So I'm taking my feedback and I'm putting it into action. And that's what seniors really, really want to see.
And how much of your time is spent like with the seniors when they're, coming to your location, and what do those conversations look like?
Absolutely. So more recently, I've been able to step out into our center instead of being back in our back office where a lot of the magic happens. I've been able to step out and communicate and talk to my seniors, build those really strong relationships with some of them that give them the opportunity to give me that verbal feedback and kind of create a trust with me. 2 days a week on Wednesdays and Fridays, I am able to go out in my community and talk to my seniors for 8 hours both days and create that trust and create that bond with them that makes them feel comfortable with coming to myself with any feedback they may have for our recreation programs.
All right. So let's talk about that stage in life when you're a senior. I know a lot of times that a lot of your friends have passed away and a lot of your children have moved on, maybe moved out of state. And so you almost go from a time when you've got kids all around you, you maybe have a job and stuff, and then all of a sudden you retire and you don't have your work friends, you've lost your family. And so there's a real sense of fighting isolation and looking for belonging in community. Maybe can you describe what are the situations you see some of your seniors in and how the Parks and Rec department through senior centers and active adult centers are kind of addressing that?
Absolutely. So most recently we've had a situation similar to this. Him and his wife were very active in our center for about a year and a half or so they'd been around. His wife unfortunately did pass away within the last couple months. He distanced himself from Parks and Rec. We as our organization, we saw that we wanted to validate his feelings. We wanted him to understand that we see him, we're here for him. So we send cards or we do a drop by and be like, hey, how's it going? Hope everything's going all right. Your friends here at Parks and Rec are always here for you. And then he slowly started to come back when we had programs focusing on grief and thriving when you're older and thriving as a senior, and how to really reintegrate yourself was one of the topics that he clinged on to. And it was amazing because all of a sudden it was like a whole new life. Started signing up for programs, started signing up for trips again. And I hadn't seen him for, it felt like maybe 6 months, 8 months. And then all of a sudden he was on a bus going on a trip to the Detroit Tigers game. And it was like, I'm so glad it worked. I'm so glad you're here.
Yeah. Oh, that's fantastic. And so, when you talk about the relationships that's being built, are there any kind of stories or people that have come to you and talked about the real difference it's made in their life and the impact that you're seeing?
Absolutely. So I have one story that really hits home to me, and it makes me feel very, very warm and fuzzy, of course. One of my seniors, he was very active for a long time. He lost his wife about 5 years ago before I started working fully in Parks and Recreation. And I had only known him after his wife had passed. He slowly, as seniors do, he slowly started to rely more on a walker and a cane, and walking mobility issues persisted, but he powered through it. And as he was, still attending our trips and our walking trips and the things that would be like 1 to 2 miles, instead of it being, 100 feet and sit down in a chair for an hour and then we get up and move again, it would be kind of sticking back with him, hanging back with him, walking slower, learning about his life. And he tells me every time we get on the bus together to go on a trip, he says, it's so amazing to have somebody so young who is listening and interested and wants to hear my story. And now every time I see him, he's like, I always ask him the follow-up questions. How's your grandkids doing? How's this going? How's the lake?
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, there really are some great, and these people at this stage in their life have such wisdom to share. And so it's got to be great just being a young person hanging around them. It's almost like you've got a whole room full of grandparents.
Yeah, very, very true.
Learn from their wisdom. Okay, so let's talk about the different, what are the programs that you think, or where do you see active adults and senior centers maybe in like 5 or 10 years as far as programs that they offer? And I know one that you had mentioned was like the scam alerts and stuff. It seems like the scammers are hitting all ages, not just the seniors. It seems like our phones are constantly getting bombarded by all these text messages from overseas and stuff. So what are the kind of programs y'all looking to offer?
Absolutely. So I know looking forward into the future, we want to expand our kind of like our experience-based programming. So what that really means is offering something that they can take not only knowledge home, but they can take a piece of something home with them. So we have different exercise your mind classes, which offer them to take home a packet of information and they can review it. Or our scam prevention is, they've gotten so good at educating themselves and being a self-advocate that when we call them and we ask them cold calling if they want to register, they're like, I don't believe you. It really is cool to see that. And I see a very big increase in that, but maybe in a different way. Maybe more of like how to differentiate. And I see a lot of programs that might be on the rise of like knowing your difference between AI and realistic things. And I think for myself and my programming and travel, I think I would see a lot more of our younger seniors feeling more comfortable, our actively aging adults stepping more confidently into being a senior and stepping more confidently into walking into a senior center and being like, I belong here. I feel comfortable walking in here. That's really what I'm dedicated and passionate about. I feel like by our programs being, multi-generational and being able to bring your grandkids or bring your kids if they're older, to programs and kind of not feeling so alone when you walk in the first time, it really makes a large difference.
Yeah. Yeah. And it does seem like everybody's getting more active, like all ages and stuff. I attend a workout group in the mornings. It's like at 5:30 in the morning here at our park. And it's a workout group for men, but we've got several guys in there that are in their 70s and they can do like 15 pull-ups, of which I'm hitting like 5 maybe. And so it's amazing how active they are. And it seems like there's so much more to life than just kind of sitting in a home by yourself. There's so much more to engage.
Very true.
Yeah. Okay. I wanted to play, Carlo, if you want to kind of cue up the essential services video. This is something that we made, Kelly, to kind of highlight why Parks and Rec is essential. And there's a part in there about seniors. showing how, creating those thriving communities and making sure that parts of our population aren't getting left behind or left out. And I know in Parks and Rec, there's a strong culture among Parks and Rec professionals to kind of really look through the community and say, is there some demographic or population that we're kind of leaving out or not
Yes.
catering to? And Parks and Rec does a great job of making sure we offer something for every part of our community. So, Carla, why don't you go ahead and play that? And when we come back, I'd love to get Kelly's take on it.
When we talk about essential services, what comes to mind? Police, firefighters, healthcare. But there's another essential service, often overlooked, yet always present: parks and recreation. Parks and Rec is health. It's the walking trail that lowers blood pressure, the recreation center where seniors fight isolation, the swim lessons that prevent tragedy before it happens. This isn't a luxury, it's a lifeline. Parks and Rec is safety, a playground instead of a street corner, a basketball court instead of trouble, a summer camp where every child belongs. It's not just about activity, it's about protection, prevention, and possibility. Parks and Rec is community, the festival that brings neighbors together, the cultural event that teaches respect and diversity, the open space where a city breathes. It builds bridges where division once stood. It gives people a reason to gather, to connect, to care. And Parks and Rec is economics. It strengthens property values. It drives tourism through events and trails. It saves on healthcare costs. Every dollar invested multiplies, feeding back into schools, into safety, into growth. Essential service is not just about survival, it's about thriving. And Parks and Recreation is where thriving begins. In wellness, in equity, in culture, and in joy. Parks and Rec isn't extra, it's essential. For our health, for our safety, for our communities, for our future. A message from the Parks and Recreation community.
All right, so Kelly, imagine you're standing in front of a group of elected officials that aren't nearly as immersed as you are in serving your community, and you really had to kind of give them kind of a little light into or maybe looking through the lens of a Parks and Rec professional, but also through the lens of working with active adults and active adult centers. How would you kind of convince them or bring them up to speed on why Parks and Rec is essential for your community?
Absolutely. I feel like it would be hard to explain firsthand, and I can probably say that any senior service person would agree with that. It's really something you'd have to experience. Whenever we onboard new people, I always am an advocate for bringing them on a trip. I say, I know you just started working with seniors, but I want you to fully immerse yourself. So it would be bringing up the topic of how the difference between when they get on the bus and they're apprehensive when they get on our trips and they're not sure if it was a good idea to spend the $85 to be there for the day, or the $15 even, and they get on the bus and they're very apprehensive and they don't know anybody, is the very big cool thing I love to see. And then they get on the trip and they go on their tour, they go to lunch, and they come back and oh my goodness, the bus is rattling with laughs and echoing with all these stories, and they get off the bus and they have 15 new friends. And they do it. And then they go, they come and they turn to me and they say, hey, I really appreciated this. This was what I needed. I made 5 new friends today and we're going on the trip next week. And that only grows more and more. And that is really what makes me have this drive and passion for what we do, is because we're bringing seniors together so that they're not alone and they don't feel like they're alone. They don't feel like they're aging alone without their kids or their spouses if they've lost them, or family members over time. They don't feel so alone, and they're creating those bonds that they need.
Yeah. All right. So that's going to lead into our next question when we get back from our commercial break. I'd like you to think about, how would you answer the question, what is your why, Kelly? Why have you chosen to dedicate so much of your life to Parks and Rec, and how has it been impactful for you? But first, let's go ahead and thank our show sponsors. So today's show sponsor is, we actually got 2. Outdoor Link is a company that's helping parks become smart parks or smart cities. So just like if you have everything connected to your cell phone, you have this smart home that you can turn everything on with your infrastructure in your home. Imagine if your whole park department, you could control everything from your cell phone or from your iPad, from splash pads, bathroom door locks, security lights, you name it. Pretty much anything connected to electricity they can control, and just allows you to really run your Parks and Rec department's infrastructure so much more efficiently. And so Dave Ramirez and their team produce a great show with us on Mondays, but they've been a good company that's helping Parks and Rec departments across the country. And then the National Academy of Athletics, the show, they produce a show with us called Youth Sports Mastery with host Aaron Locks. And his company has helped a lot of Parks and Rec departments bring on those programs that the community wants, but they're really not geared up for. So they will provide the coaching, the staff, the programming for after school care, for your pickleball leagues, for any league or something that you're maybe not geared up for. They can kind of run it turnkey for you. So Carla, why don't you go ahead and play those 2 promos real quick, and then we'll come back and we'll get to dig into Kelly's why.
In today's parks and recreation industry, communication, safety, and efficiency go hand in hand. That's where Outdoor Link comes in, delivering smart technology that empowers city departments and community planners to do more, smarter. Outdoor Link's platform connects and automates everything that keeps your parks running smoothly, from lighting and locks to signage, water features, Wi-Fi, and digital advertising. Control and schedule park lights for safety and energy savings. Remotely manage facility access. Coordinate fountains and splash pads. Provide public connectivity. All from one simple, unified platform, giving you real-time control, data, and cost efficiency. For parks and recreation agencies, that means safer spaces, smarter resource use, faster responses, and stronger community engagement. And behind every great park story is great infrastructure. That's why Outdoor Link proudly supports DPRS Media Company, helping the daily Parks and Rec show amplify the voices of professionals shaping our communities every day. Outdoor Link, smart, connected solutions for parks, recreation, and beyond.
They say it's just rec. Just rec, where kids learn to try again. Just rec, where confidence begins. Where teamwork, effort, and fun matter more than trophies. It's not about perfection. It's about participation. It's not just rec. It's where kids learn to love the game and themselves. It's just rec until they learn teamwork for life. It's just rec, but it's everything to them. It's more than rec. It's a movement. It's just rec until you realize it's shaping the next generation. Together, we're not just running programs. We're building a culture of confidence, connection, and community. Join us.
All right. So what's your why? Why is this crazy industry? Why is this crazy industry so attractive to you?
It is the thrill and it is the love and passion. I swear you walk into a room with a bunch of other Parks and Rec professionals and you could be brand new and you feel the energy, and that is really what it is. My why is really just taking everything that I know and everything that I love and being able to put it out in my community and show everybody that this is what I love. This is what I'm doing. It really is just a drive. It's a feeling of being so immersed in the community and so happy to be part of something so much bigger than myself is just really what it is.
Yeah, fantastic. And we have a comment from Joseph. He's also with Outdoor Link. Have you worked with Joseph in the past?
I know Joseph very well, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, well, he says you're doing a great job. Keep up the great work. Fantastic. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your generation? Like, maybe it's a 3-part question. So if you had to explain to the world of Parks and Rec, as your generation of leaders is coming into this industry,
Mhm.
what do you think of the values of your generation? What is important to them? And how do you think they're going to run Parks and Rec a little bit differently into the future? So we'll start with values.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the crazy thing that I'm seeing right now is that there's not a lot of advocacy for parks and recreation. There's a lot of advocacy for environmental education,
Mhm.
outdoor education, and everything else that spirit is like kind of offshoots off of the topics. But all of it ties back, and I think where people like myself who are younger and working in this field need to kind of be the advocate for parks and recreation and
Mm.
going to meeting these students and working with interns and things like that and being like, did you ever think that you could do that in Parks and Rec? And did you know that Parks and Rec is huge and there's 100 million opportunities that exist within it? Yeah.
Yeah, and it looks like just from the outside looking in at your generation coming in to the workforce, it seems like y'all are much more quality of life centered. Like, is my work having an impact? Is it meaningful? It seems like y'all aren't nearly as focused as my generation on what's the paycheck. It's like, yes, of course I want to get paid. I got bills to pay, but at the same time, as is the work I'm doing meaningful and is it making a difference? You have anything to add to that, or would you? Am I? Do you think I'm assessing it right?
No, I absolutely agree with that. I would say a lot of our recreation programmers are within the same age range as I am, that kind of 25 to 30 age range, where the drive is there, the love is there, and it's not necessarily focused on making the money. It's focused on providing excellent quality programs and providing excellent quality recreation that really makes a difference that we can see if we go out into our
Mhm.
community.
And how does that make a difference for you as far, because yeah, we want to think that we're making a difference in the work that we do, but how does that change, your work week and your work day, knowing that the work that you're doing is really making a difference?
Absolutely. I would say that the large thing for me is like after the day after I come back from a trip with my seniors, which is it's not very often I get to go, but I try to go once a month and hang out with my seniors for the day on trips. And I ride it like a wave. Like I come into work the next day, I'm like, yes, that is why I do what I do, because there's smiles on seniors' faces. It's making a difference. You can see it in the way that they behave and they act and they come back and they're just so excited. They're wanting to provide more insights for the future and like wanting to see more things that they'd like to do.
Yeah. And so what are your friends saying about this? I mean, they must be telling you about their jobs and what they do. And then we're like, so what do you do, Kelly, for a living? And then you're explaining to them your work. What's their response?
Absolutely. My best friend is a logistics major, so she oversees like freight. And we have such drastically different jobs where I'm like,
Right.
oh my goodness, I had the craziest day at work. This, the X, Y, and Z happened. And she's like, okay. I'm like, yes, but it's cool and it's awesome. And she's like, she always tells me she likes talking about work because it's so different. It provides a different insight to what life looks like when you have different jobs and you have different things going on. And with a job that is so municipality based and so community centered, it's cool to see the impact it makes even within my own age range.
Yeah. And so what's it like, when we think about I work for the government, we might think of like Washington, D.C., and that's working for the government, but maybe bring people back home to working for a municipal government that's serving its community.
Mhm.
How is that different when you explain to people that I work for the government?
Absolutely. I would say even the difference between working for like a Parks and Rec organization within a municipality and working for your water and sewer or your fire department, we all provide very important aspects of the
Mhm.
community. I think Parks and Rec it's such a different part of working for the municipality that people come to us and they know that they have somewhere that they can find a place to relax. They can find a place to enjoy what they'd like to do. And I think that is really how it differs, but it ties together because it's all very important in our municipalities.
Yeah. All right. So in a decade, you guys are going to be running the whole show. I'll be running all the Parks and Rec departments. How do you think that y'all would be leading differently, in this world that's ever changing, especially with AI and software and robotics? And it seems like the world's changing so fast. How do you
Absolutely.
think your generation will be kind of running the show a little differently?
I think the really cool thing about my generation and the generation that is currently stepping into this world of Parks and Rec is that it's it's going to be very cool to see the change. So you have some use of artificial intelligence, and then there's a nice 7-10 split of people who enjoy using it or just absolutely do not like it. So that's where those two personalities come together and they build something way better that exists, that we use in Parks and Recreation. You know, you have people who oversee your digital marketing and they work on making their flyers and advertisements. And then there's other aspects where we can use AI, like our program descriptions and program optimization and program reviews. I think using those two things are very important, especially for our field and streamlining our processes. But I think a lot of what the future of our community and our age range in Parks and Recreation will look like is going to really depend on the passion and drive behind it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I know a lot of people are worried about AI taking your job, or, you know, is there going to be anything left for us to do? I actually think Parks and Rec is going to be perfectly positioned to be in a world where people are looking to get out and do more and live in their green spaces and meet their community and attend festivals and stuff. And this industry is squarely focused on that quality of life world that I think we're heading towards. Do you have anything to say on that, or any encouraging words that, you know what, the world's changing fast, but we're going to adapt?
I absolutely agree with that. I could not agree more. I think with the ever-changing world of artificial intelligence and, you know, AI is going to come and take everyone's, you know, jobs and futures. And I don't think that's a really large likelihood at all for Parks and Recreation, because you can disconnect from, you know, people and our brains and our own organic ideas that can exist. But I think when you come down to an organic way of looking at, okay, I never thought about considering this handicap accessibility aspect when looking at this type of program, that is like, I would have never have caught that, but AI would have never caught it, but I caught it.
Right. You know? Yeah. Yeah. And then even, let's just say AI does really get good at a lot of the stuff that we're doing. You can't send your AI or your robot to go for a 5-mile jog for you to get you in shape, or go spend time with my kid and build a relationship with him, or my grandchild. I think there's going to be a very much human aspect that we still have to, you know, connect and be human and belong to our community.
Yes.
Okay, so I wanted to talk a little bit about this new professionals group. So there are a lot. So if you haven't heard of YPN, so NRPA started something called the Young Professionals Network. I think they're coming up on their 10th year. And ever since then, a lot of other states are starting to really create programs for the young professionals coming into the network. What has been your activity as far as participating in the young professionals groups?
Yeah, so I am very active within our MParks, which is the Michigan Association for Parks and Recreation. They have a new professionals focus area that kind of, its whole reason basis for existing is to bring people who are just now within the first 1 to 5 years of stepping into this field, who need to get their bearings. They need to talk to somebody. They need to kind of get a mentor. And they've also piloted and now for like solidified a mentor mentee program. And this is something I really love, and I am a large advocate for anybody who's freshly stepping into this world of Parks and Rec and doesn't know where to go, doesn't know which way's up and which way's down, is cling on to the mentor mentee program. They assign you with like an executive director at Northville, or they assign you with a 10-year, you know, experienced programmer who oversees adaptive programming in whatever municipality. And you can kind of come to them and be like, hey, I'm having issues in this area. And you meet with them. I believe you meet with them once to twice a month, and you kind of go over and you talk about what's going on. How do I make things better? How do I support myself? How do I be an advocate for my community? How do I go out and talk to my community members and make them aware of who I am?
Fantastic. All right. So I know a lot of people wait until they graduate and then they're looking for a job, not really knowing what they would like or what they want to do. And Parks and Rec does a great job of incorporating volunteers in their organization and in their programming. So maybe speak a little bit about the volunteer opportunities and maybe encouraging those college kids to maybe get out and volunteer for their local Parks and Rec department.
Absolutely. So my biggest thing I always tell everybody when they're first like wondering, how do I step into Parks and Rec? For every city, township, village that exists, there is a Parks and Recreation associated with it. It might not necessarily be called your Parks and Rec. It might be your DDA, your township, might be whatever it is. But there is always something that is dedicated to parks and recreation in your community. All it is simple as calling up and being like, how do I get involved? I don't necessarily not always looking for work, but how do I get involved? We have somebody at our organization who oversees our volunteer coordination for our seniors, and then one who oversees it for our generalized recreation. And it's as simple as giving her phone number to you and saying, call her. She will find you a program that works for you, that you'd like to work at, that'll find you that kind of step in that you want to take. And even with that, I would say if you don't necessarily feel comfortable getting involved in your own local parks and recreation, and you're a student and you want to get more student-based with, clerical and things like that, and, executive information, like working as an admin assistant in parks and recreation, I think it is really important to reach out to your state association. And our state association offers student passes to conferences and student options to come to our joint meetings every spring and fall and get a hands-on dive into what it's really like.
Oh, fantastic. So, all right. So imagine you're sitting in front of a group of undecided college kids. I want you to help me pitch the industry. So if you're standing in front of a group of kids that really don't really know what they want to do with their life or the direction they want to go, what career they want to have, what would be your testimony to them as why they may want to give a second look or consider Parks and Rec as a career path?
There is so much you can do in this field, and it is honestly insane. I came in stepping into this first realm as a part-time CSR, answering the phones and taking registration. I was dead set on a future working as an outdoor education person and just working as an educator. And that was all I wanted to do, work with young children. And that was really, that's all I set my mind to. And I had a mentor as I started stepping more and more comfortably into working in Parks and Rec. She said, grab my hand and she said, come here, let me show you these cool things that we do. And she showed me all the different parts of Parks and Recreation that exist. And I was on a senior trip and I was out in the parks working on the mow crew for a day, or I was seeing what the parks fleet technician was doing for the day and seeing all of the different things that we have to offer. And it's only a small glimpse. I mean, there are organizations out there that are larger than I couldn't even imagine. Like Troy Recreation is gigantic and Sterling Heights is gigantic. And stepping and even seeing what they offer and seeing how much stuff there is to do within the field is where I really would be like, step into it, see what we have, and it's something for everybody.
Yeah. Now, was that an internship program or just somebody like a friend of yours that pulled you into it?
So I'd been working there for about a year before that happened. And it was just, it was one of our managers who was like, I see that you have a kind of passion. You might be a little apprehensive. Let's go and see if we can set up a time for you to come hang out over at the garage at Marshbank Park for the day, or hang out with the seniors here at the Connect Center for a little bit, just to see and immerse yourself into what you really want to do. Yeah.
And so how did you make that shift from what you went from one end to the other? I'm going to work with kids and now you're working with seniors. What kind of made that shift?
So, in the summer of 2023, I took a step back from working for West Bloomfield Parks for 3 months. I went to another location, ended up working there, and I came back, and the opportunity was presented to me to work kind of as the main customer service representative at our Connect Senior Center when we had just opened it. And I was very apprehensive. I was a little scared. I had never worked fully with the seniors before because I was at our administrative office. And the same person who grabbed my hand and said, let me show you all the parts of Parks and Recreation, she said, I believe in you and I'm going to be here with you every step of the way. So if you have any questions, and she said, even if you don't enjoy this and you realize that in 3 months it's not for you, she goes, we can reevaluate and we can figure you out something else to do within parks, but you got to try it. And when I stepped into the office for the first day at our senior center, I was just overcome with the love and joy of just what I was doing and seeing these smiles for game room ladies to come in and see that they're happy that they have a place to exist finally.
Oh, fantastic. Okay. So kind of as we're wrapping up the show, one of the traditions that we have is one of my previous guests left you a question. And so this comes from Beth Pout. By the way, Beth, she manages 24 miles of beach in Vero Beach, Florida. I swear some of these Parks and Rec departments are sitting on some of the most gorgeous property. But our question for you is, what is the most challenging hill that you have climbed in Parks and Rec, and how has that molded you?
Oh, geez. I would say just getting to where I am. Since I fully decided that I wanted to stay in Parks and Rec after about my first year working for the organization. I was dead set. I knew what I wanted. I knew I wanted to be programming. I knew I wanted to be creating events. I knew I wanted to be creating trips and activities for people to enjoy and use and talk to our community and be out there in them. And it was hard getting here, especially as I'm actively earning my degree and earning my degree. And I pose a slightly lesser advantage because I'm not fully with my degree yet. So it was hard to get here, and I'm proud of myself for every step of the way that it was and every twist and turn in the road that got me to where I am. And it's especially just, it's amazing to see the change.
Fantastic. Okay, so I have another little fun question that we ask a lot of Parks and Rec, our guests to our show. But if you were a piece of playground equipment, what would it be and why?
Oh my gosh. You remember like I can't even describe what it's called. It was like a fireman's pole, but it had little loops hanging off each side.
Oh yeah,
That's what I would describe myself as, because you come up to it and you don't know what to do with it and you're a little confused. And then you look at it from a couple different angles and then you go, I figured it out. And then you climb up to the top.
Oh, fantastic. All right. So what question would you like to leave for my next guest?
My question for any Parks and Rec professional is always, I love what I do and I have a reason for what I do. What was the first thing that made you realize that this is what you wanted to do?
Oh, I love that. Okay. So you love what you do. What was the first thing that made you realize that you love what you do? And what would be your answer to that question?
So it was something so silly, but the first thing that made me really realize that I wanted to be fully involved in my seniors and fully involved in being in Parks and Rec was one day I walked in and there was a woman who was complaining about the temperature of the water for the hot water for the tea. And I said, I'm so sorry to hear that. Let me take care of it for you. And I set out for months to figure out how to make this woman satisfied with the water temperature. And when I finally got it, I was so happy and so accomplished. And I said, this is my why. This is the reason I stay here. Because there's never a day that happens that I'm not on my toes with what's going to happen next.
Oh, that's a great answer to that question. Well, Kelly, thank you so much for coming on the show today and telling us, giving us a little window into what's it like to run these active adult centers and working with our seniors. Really appreciate the work that you're doing and keep going. It's desperately needed. And I think we need to kind of get the message out more about the kind of work that you're doing.
Absolutely. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you so much for coming on the show today, Kelly. Thanks. Bye. All right. Another great show. I think it's just, we don't really realize that when we come to the end of our life that, like Kelly highlighted, that it's so important to have a community and to have belonging, and that without that, a lot of times when we get isolated, that can be kind of a bad scenario for us. And Parks and Rec is doing a great job creating these communities of people that are really thriving as they kind of enter the end of their life time frame. And it really is important to see that Parks and Rec department really is serving all parts of our community. And like we said in one of our earlier shows, that there's very few things that you can do in your life where you're working with all ages. And Parks and Rec works, from the time that it's a true cradle to grave industry, where they're working with the young kids and the formative years, and then the families, and then you have like the active adult centers. And so if you are interested in serving your community in that way, Parks and Rec is the place to be. All right, so hang tight. We've got another great show coming up with the Youth Sports Mastery Show. I have Dr. Nick coming on with Aaron Lux starting at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And we will be making a shift. This will soon be a 1 p.m. show. And Aaron has picked up a second show, 5 p.m. on Tuesdays. So then you'll be able to hear the Youth Sports Mastery Show twice a week with great guests from Aaron's network. And Aaron's got like one of the best networks of recreation professionals when it comes to youth sports and stuff. And one thing I love about Aaron's show is he always stays focused on making the programs and services affordable, but not just affordability, but making sure that we're not leaving children out. And he acknowledges that, yes, this is sports, but it's not sports and rec sports with the intention of maybe getting your child a college D1 athletic scholarship, but it's more about teaching the lessons that are taught in youth sports, the coaching lessons, and then the relationships that are built. And so I think that there's a huge movement coming back into the Parks and Rec industry where they're noticing that, we don't want our parks to be kind of taken by these elite travel ball teams. And they do have their place. But I think the primary focus is, making sure that the kids are learning those life lessons and building those lifelong connections. And so Aaron does a great job of staying focused on that and having great show guests to kind of speak to that end. So stay tuned, 1:30 p.m. Eastern time, starting shortly. Aaron will be taking the torch from us. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We've got a big push here, and I think we're going to hit it by the end of the month. And soon we'll be able to air live on the YouTube channel and put out great content, not just on Facebook and LinkedIn and X, but also on YouTube. So that's all I have for y'all today. We'll see y'all here again tomorrow. Y'all have a great day. Love you guys. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
This episode is brought to you by SDSU's Sports MBA program. If you're passionate about sports and want to work in the women's sports industry, then this is the time to pay attention. SDSU's program is 12 months accelerated hands-on learning where students have actually gotten to work with teams like the San Diego Mojo, partnered with the Farmers Insurance Open, and visited headquarters like the Upper Deck or Callaway Golf. It's built for people who want to be in rooms like that. So if you're interested, deadlines are approaching. Learn more or apply with the links in the description.
In the parks and recreation industry, attention is limited, but influence is everything. Every day, thousands of parks and recreation professionals make critical decisions. Decisions on infrastructure, programs, technology, and vendors. The question is your brand part of that conversation? DPRS Media Network was built to answer that question. We are a dedicated media ecosystem focused exclusively on the parks and recreation industry in the United States. Through a network of daily and weekly shows, we inform, connect, and influence this audience. Our distribution spans multiple platforms: LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, X, Instagram, plus email campaigns, newsletters, podcasts, and live event coverage. This is not a single-channel strategy. It is a multi-platform media engine. Today, our network reaches over 214,000 connections, including 51,000 on LinkedIn, 64,000 on Facebook, nearly 40,000 email subscribers, and thousands more across podcast and social platforms. While some audiences overlap, our true value is not just reach, it is relevance. We speak directly to parks and recreation directors, program managers, and industry leaders, an audience that is highly targeted and actively engaged. Through DPRS Media Network, your brand integrates seamlessly into this ecosystem. Through sponsored show segments, targeted advertisement placements, podcast features, and host-read promotions, even custom branded content. Not as interruptions, but as part of the conversation. And we don't just operate online. We attend over 15 major parks and recreation conventions each year, reaching more than 24,000 professionals in person. Through live shows, interviews, and on-site media coverage, we position our partners at the center of the industry. Every piece of content we produce is amplified across our entire network. Multiple shows, multiple hosts, multiple platforms. Your message doesn't appear once, it multiplies. This is more than advertising. It is strategic positioning within a trusted media network built specifically for the parks and recreation industry. If your goal is to reach decision makers, build credibility, and stay top of mind, then it's time to partner with DPRS Media Network. Apply for partnership or sponsorship today. Let's position your brand where the industry is already paying attention.